Girls begin going to school next. Many of the reforms felt that education for girls was necessary in order to improve the condition of women. Vidyasagar in Calcutta and many other reformers in Bombay set up schools for girls. Next, when the first schools were opened in the mid 19th century, many people were afraid to them. They feared that schools would take girls away from home, prevent them from doing their domestic duties. More were girls and to travel through public place in order to reach school. Many people felt that this would have a corrupting influence on them. Next, they felt that girls should stay away from public space. Therefore, throughout the 19th century, most educated women were taught at home by liberal fathers or husbands. Sometimes women taught themselves. Do you remember what you read about Rashtravadi Devi in your book Social and Political Life last year? She was one of those who secretly learned to read and write in the light of candles at night. Next, in the later part of the country, schools for girls were established by the Arya Samaj in Punjab and Jyotirao Phule in Maharashtra. Next, in aristocratic Muslim households in North India, women learned to read the Quran in Arabic. They were taught by women who came home to teach. Some reforms, such as Mumtaz Ali varies from the Quran to argue for women's education. Next, the first Urdu novels began to be written from the late 19th century. Amongst other things, these were meant on the encourage women to read about religion and domestic management in a language they could understand. Next, women write about women from the early 20th century. Muslim women like the Begum of Bhopal played a notable role in promoting education among women. Next, they founded a primary school for girls and alleged. Another remarkable woman began Rovikya Shankaracharya and started schools for Muslim girls in Patna and Calcutta. She was a fearless critic of conservative ideas, arguing that religious leaders of every faith accorded an inferior place to women. Next, by the 1880s, Indian women began to enter universities. Some of them trained to be doctors, some became teachers. Many women began to write and publish their critical views on the place of women in society. Next, Pandit Rambai, a great scholar of Sanskrit, felt that Hinduism was opprobrious towards women and wrote a book about the miserable lives of upper caste Hindu women. The founded a widows home at Pune to provide shelter to widows who had been treated badly by their husbands' relatives. Next, her women were trained so that they could support themselves economically. Needless to say, all this more than alarmed of the Orthodox. For instance, many Hindus nationalists felt that Hindu women were adopting Western ways and that this would corrupt Hindu culture and erode family values. Orthodox Muslims were also worried about the impact of these changes. Next, as you can see, by the end of the 19th century, women themselves were actively working for reform. They wrote books, edited magazines, founded schools and training centers, and set up women's associations. From the early 20th century. They formed political pressures groups or pushed through laws for female suffrage, the right to vote, and better health care and education for women. Next, some of them joined various kind of nationalist and socialist movements from the 1920s. In the 20th century, leaders such as A. Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose lent their support to demands for greater equality and freedom for women. Nationalist leaders promised that there would be full suffrage for all men and women after independence. However, till then they asked women to contrast concentrated on the anti-British suggestions. Next, with the growth of women's organizations and writing on these issues, the momentums of the reform gained strength. People challenged another established custom, that of child marriage. There were a number of Indian legislations in the Central Legislative Assembly who fought to make a law preventing child marriage in 1929. The Child Marriage Restriction Act was in the past without in the kind of bitter debates in the struggles and earlier laws had seen. Next, according to the act, no man below of the age of 18 and women below age of the 16 could marry. Subsequently, these limits were raised to 21 more men and 18 for women. Next, caste and social reform. Some of the social reforms we have been discussing also criticized caste inequalities. Ram Mohan Rai translated an old Buddhist text that was critical of caste. The Samaj adhered to the tradition of the Bhakti that believed in spiritual equality of all castes in Bombay, and Mandali was founded in 1840 to work for the abolition of caste. Many of these reforms and members of reform associations were people for upper castes. Often in secret meetings, these reforms would violate caste taboos and put the touch in efforts to get right to the hold of caste in their lives.